Hey guys, it's Kevin in the movie for you guys. I'm reviewing. This is a movie that I was definitely really looking forward to. It's one of the animated films come out that I thought had the most potential, especially for the first half of the year, and I have finally gotten around to see it, and that is none other than Aardman Animation's new film, Early Man. And what Early Man is essentially about is we center on this group of cavemen during the Stone Age, and basically, all these cavemen primarily do is just kind of hunt rabbits. And one day, one of the members of this tribe named Doug, he is doing the usual rabbit hunting thing, and he ends up tripping over this barrel, and suddenly he finds himself in this Age of Bronze, and he realizes that the Age of Bronze has actually begun. There is this king basically who kind of wants to take their land, and essentially what ends up happening is Doug basically ends up challenging Lord Noth to this soccer game, or as they call it, football, because, they're British and whatnot. Basically, they decide that they're going to play this game of soccer, and now Doug has to train all of the tribesmen to learn how to play soccer in the hopes of getting their land back, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, Early Man in general, I was really looking forward to this movie, and I mean, why shouldn't I be? Aardman Animation is definitely one of the best animation studios working today. They really know how to do physical comedy well. Their British humor is always great. The claymation is always very impressive, and one of the best things I've loved about them is their simple storytelling. I mean, their films usually aren't anything really all that complex, but they're a little bit more adult than your average kids film, like Shaun the Sheep or like a Wallace and Gromit, and I thought Early Man really had a lot of potential. It's been a while since Aardman released a film. I think their last one was actually Shaun the Sheep, which was like 3 years ago. So I thought Early Man really did have a lot of potential for them. And look, I will say this, Early Man is overall a good film. I did definitely enjoy this movie overall, but it's definitely not on the level of other films Aardman has put out. It is definitely a lot more standard than your typical Aardman animation film, but we're getting into it right now, starting off with the cast. And let me say this, there are definitely quite a few problems with this movie, but the acting really isn't one of them. One of the things that impressed me so much about the voice acting is how well everyone was able to kind of disguise their voice, and I think everyone did a really great job with that. Let's first talk about Eddie Redmayne as the character of Doug, who I thought did a really great job here. He's very likable. He really gets us to root for Doug. Doug is really the person that wants to turn things around. He wants a change to be made. The cavemen in general, they've kind of just been going through the same routinal thing every single day where they just hunt rabbits, and Doug really wants to venture beyond that. He wants to do something more, and this really does give us a reason to root for him, and I think Redmayne did a really good job with adding charm and spunk to and fun to this character, and he really does a pretty good job with that. I definitely did enjoy him overall. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I did think Redmayne overall was definitely very solid here. But easily the scene stealer of this entire film is Tom Hiddleston as the character of the king of Lord Noth. This guy is fantastic. I loved everything about Hiddleston in this role. Again, because he is so unrecognizable. If I were to tell you this is Tom Hiddleston, you really wouldn't believe me, because he completely transformed himself into this Russian king who has a very specific way to do things. He's very money hungry. He wants nothing to do with the cavemen, and he will do whatever he can to get his way, and I just really love watching that throughout the film. He has a lot of funny lines here, and to me it seemed like he was having the most fun. I loved everything that Tom Hiddleston did. If the entire film was as good as Hiddleston, I would be praising this as one of the best Aardman films, that they've ever done, because that's how good Hiddleston really is in this role. He steals every scene that he's in. He proves why he is such a great actor, and he continues to amaze me, even beyond Logie. He's proven very quickly that he is not just a one character type of actor. He can play multiple characters, and Lord Newth very well may be one of his best performances to date. He really was fantastic here. And then the rest of the cast, I thought was pretty good. Maisie Williams, she plays her part pretty well as a character of Guna. We'll get to her character herself in a little bit. Timothy Spall, I actually loved in this movie. I thought he was great as Chief Bobner. Again, he is the chieftain of the tribe overall. He is very strict on, no, we just do this. We don't ever deviate from this specific thing. And you see he does undergo a pretty big transformation, and I think he did a pretty good job overall. Really, everyone I thought was pretty solid here. I really do want to credit Nick Park as Hognob. This is Doug's wild boar who we follow throughout the film. Really fun overall. He definitely did a really good job with bringing this character to life. It very much reminded me of a Gromit or a Shaun the Sheep, and I did think that his scenes in particular were some of the strongest of the entire film. I really did enjoy his voice acting here. Now let's get to the directing and the writing, because here's where we get to the biggest problem with this film. Like I said, not at all a bad movie, but I think the problem with the directing is that it's just very standard compared to the other Aardman films. In general, this feels a lot more kiddie. It feels a lot more traditional. It doesn't really feel like it has that smart type of humor and that Britishy feel that some of their other films have. Sure, this film does take place in Britain, and they say a lot of British things, but it just doesn't feel as authentic as I think the other films do. The directing here is still good, though. I will admit, I was laughing through the majority of this movie. There are definitely a lot of great jokes, a lot involving Lord Newth because he is just such a fun character. But there definitely are some jokes that really did have me laughing. There's a really creative opening scene involving this meteorite. I'm not going to get into what they end up doing with it, but it was just really creative overall. I thought it was honestly a lot of fun. Little visual gags here and there I also really did enjoy. There's this one specific item that Timothy Spall ends up using, and basically we take it as he's using it as a razor, and just little things like that I thought were honestly really clever, and I really did enjoy that. And I will admit there actually are some good emotional moments in this movie. So the directing's not the problem. The problem with this movie is the story, which, like I said, just is very, very by the numbers and very one note. I mean, there was a lot of potential here. You're focusing on characters that live in prehistoric times, and there is so much ground you could cover with that. And at first, the movie does a fantastic job with the world building, the look of the Stone Age in general, where they're populated, all the different types of technology they use, the different things they go through. It's really entertaining. I really got sucked into this world. The problem is the movie feels less like about the cavemen and more of just a sports movie that happens to have cavemen in it. That's very much what this does feel like. It feels more like a sports comedy, and that's not really what I was expecting from this movie. Sure, I knew there was going to be a sports element in there, but I did not expect it was going to be the central arc of this film, and it actually is. That's basically the biggest thing that's going on here. And let me just say, it's not a bad story. There are legitimate things I like here. Like, for example, I do think they did a good job of setting up the fact that the cavemen, they're very apprehensive about, playing soccer because it has not gone well in the past for their other tribes, and they really don't want to repeat history, and they don't want to, end up losing like they have. They have a very bad rep in terms of athleticism, and I did like the way that Doug wanted them to overcome this. This gives us a lot of reasons to root for his character, and I did think that overall was a very well told story. Like I said, I thought the world building was very strong there. I thought the way they set up the whole soccer thing again in that opening sequence was great. The opening sequence was fantastic. It honestly did have me dying, and I thought it was honestly a lot of fun to watch. And the story overall, again, just not a bad story, but there was a lot of things that I really thought was lacking here. Particularly the characters. The characters in this movie are not bad. Lord Newth, awesome character. Don't change him at all. He's fantastic. I love everything they did with him. He's a very one-note villain, but again, Hiddleston just does such a great job that I really was not upset about that. I'm not upset about the fact that this is just your standard villain. I don't really care because he's just a lot of fun in the role. He's so dynamic, and I could have watched a whole movie just about his character. That's how much I really did enjoy him. When you have someone like Doug, though, it really does not compare. Because, again, as rootable as Doug is and as likable as he does not really have much of an arc in this film. He starts off the film, and he wants to do something, and basically the rest of the film, he does get to do that something, but it just doesn't really feel like he goes through that much in this movie. I did not really feel like Doug had a specific arc in this film. I really wanted more from him as a character, and I just did not get it. So it did feel very lacking in that regard. Timothy Spall, I did actually think had a pretty good arc. I did think they did good stuff with him. That's nothing compared to Maisie Williams. So Maisie Williams is completely wasted in this movie. She shows up at first, and she's there because she's like this football enthusiast, and she really wants to coach Doug and all of them to be this better team. And at first you're like, okay, this is really cute. I like her inclusion in the story. I like what she's doing for them. There's a lot of good stuff there. But then the movie doesn't really do anything with her. That's really her entire role in this movie, and I really wanted more from her. I thought they could have done a lot more with her as a character. She's like completely wasted in this movie. She goes in this one direction towards the end that I didn't really think made any sense for her character whatsoever, and I was just really confused by, besides that one scene, what the point of her character really was, because honestly, her character feels very inconsequential, and it just does not really feel like she amounts to much of anything in this film besides of what I already discussed, and it was really disappointing. I just thought they could have done a lot more with her overall. Also, as good as the humor is, there is some humor that really does not land. There actually is a fair amount of potty humor and things like that, which I really was not expecting, but yeah, there actually is some of that in here. There's a lot of lowbrow humor for the kids. There is enough in there that I was laughing at, but there was some humor that I thought was a lot more kiddie, and I really was not expecting it, I have to say. The score I really did like. It was prehistoric for the most part, and they did very much stick with that, which I really did enjoy. And the editing. The movie I don't think is too short. It flew by for me. I wasn't really ever bored with this movie, but I just really wanted more. I think they could have maybe added 10 or so more minutes to the story overall. Also, there is one direction the film does take towards the end. I'm like, that's actually really ballsy. Okay, I actually really like that. But then the movie just retcons it. They had to do the typical kids thing where, oh, we're not going to get that sentimental. There's not really going to be that many high stakes, and it almost completely took me out of the movie. I was really angered by and them just completely deciding to completely just refute from this decision, because I thought it was a really cool idea at first, and then they just, like I said, deviated from it, and it did overall very much piss me off. So I think they could have done a lot more there. Like I said, guys, Early Man, it's an entertaining movie. I did enjoy it overall. It's something that I do have enough to recommend, but there's just a part of me that feels like there could have been more. I hold Aardman to a very high standard when it comes to animated films, and this just feels a bit lacking. It feels like it's kind of underwritten. It very much does feel like a film they just kind of rushed kind of quickly. They could have added a lot more to this, and they just didn't overall. There's enough in there. Hiddleston's performance is truly a delight. He is absolutely fantastic in this movie. There's a lot of fun moments overall, involving Hognob and things like that, but just in general, it is easily one of their weakest films to date for sure. I still did enjoy it, but I just wanted a lot more, and I am going to give Early Man overall a B. So over, guys, my review of Early Man. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. Love your thoughts. And like I said, I did enjoy this movie overall. Just at the end of the day, I want a lot more from it. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.